I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights, this is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career.
A lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140.
You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
Well, you know how to box. When you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
With the long-awaited showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford approaching, Max Kellerman offered his final take on the matchup. As part of Netflix's lead broadcast team for this historic event, Kellerman provided his trademark analysis and historical perspective, explaining why this fight has the potential to stand among the most significant moments in boxing history.
A great chin. But in terms of, if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, Canelo's the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Kellerman has made bold remarks about the upcoming clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, calling it the most-watched championship fight in nearly 50 years. He compared the event to the iconic Muhammad Ali-Lon Spinks rematch in 1978, which attracted an astonishing 90 million television viewers. Kellerman noted that with Netflix leading the broadcast, this bout is more than just another major fight. It signals a shift in boxing's global reach and business model, with projected audiences expected to exceed traditional pay-per-view records.
But like, where would you rank this fight out of your top 3 to 5 of all the boxing fights you've called, you've experienced, you've watched?
In terms of the magnitude of the fight?
Yeah, the magnitude, yeah.
I mean, of the fights that I've called ringside, it might turn out to be number 1. I've done Pacquiao fights, I've done Mayweather fights, I've done Anthony Joshua against Klitschko, those are big fights, but this will, listen, because of Netflix, this will be the most watched fight, championship fight, in almost 50 years. This is going to be because Muhammad Ali fought Leon Spinks in the rematch in '78, and they did 90 million TV sets. 90 million. And since then, what has even come close? The biggest fights have all been on pay-per-view, and they do 2 million buys. Oh my God, 4 million buys, Mayweather Pacquiao. As I keep saying, if 5 people per TV set watch, that's 20 million people. This is going to do multiples of that. So, so when you look at it from like a commercial point of view, it'll easily be the biggest boxing event I've ever covered.
UFC President Dana White announced that Max Kellerman will step back into the commentary booth as part of Netflix's official team for the blockbuster clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford on September 13th, 2025, at Allegiant Stadium. Kellerman, one of boxing's most respected analysts with a legacy at ESPN and HBO, will join John Anik and Hall of Famer Andre Ward to provide live coverage, marking his high-profile return to televised boxing. Calling the matchup the perfect storm, Kellerman stressed that both Alvarez and Crawford represent the rarest level of pound-for-pound. Greatness a distinction he believes fewer than 30 fighters in boxing history have truly earned. Once seen as Canelo's domain, that top spot, Kellerman admitted, now belongs to Crawford in his eyes. It's making this head-to-head showdown all the more historic.
Of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight. But I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm, a perfect storm. First of all, Turki Al-Sheikh, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. You know, none of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So that's who's behind what you're going to see. You know who's the best pound for pound fighter in the world? The most recent one. Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound for pound. Who was the best pound for pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez, universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys, the last two best pound for pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have? Before Canelo, Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before, you could take the lineage back. There have only been, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two. And they're going to fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws, 62-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited to be a part of it.
Emo Thigh. Bradley Jr. foresees a tactical start to the Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford showdown, predicting that the first round will resemble a chess match rather than an explosive exchange. In his view, both men will use the early minutes to gauge timing, distance, and rhythm instead of taking unnecessary risks. Bradley emphasized that Crawford has built a reputation for patiently easing into major fights, setting traps as the rounds progress, while Canelo is equally known for using the opening frames to analyze his opponent before making adjustments. Because of this, Bradley expects a cautious opening phase, with the true intensity set to emerge deeper into the fight.
Feel his punching power as well. In the beginning, it's all the position balance. Like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm. Understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is a prolific counterpuncher, fantastic counterpuncher, he tends to find his spots a lot quicker. And the indication of that is when, if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round. He usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises, see what these guys know, couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So I think the first round's going to be a real calm and cautious round by both fighters. But in the second round, Canelo's going to start applying that pressure, man. Pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo, okay? Let me explain this. So pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range, to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other's movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it, okay? Because he's smart, he's cerebral. Like a fighter to a fighter, we can feel when another fighter is like, oh, he's on my rhythm.
WBC lightweight champion Shocker Stevenson has stood by his bold prediction that Terence "Bud" Crawford will overcome and potentially stop Canelo Alvarez. Stevenson points to Crawford's quickness, tactical intelligence, and ability to switch southpaw as key factors that could swing the contest in his favor. He originally voiced this belief in 2021 and has never wavered since. repeatedly emphasizing that Crawford's accuracy, adaptability, and complete skill set make him the most logical pick in such a high-stakes showdown.
I think Bud gonna cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of an advantage?
I think y'all make that something, in certain fights,
Boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height wise, he's kind of small. So I don't think so. No, I think that's possible. Like I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud could crack too. So.